All right, Rabosai, good morning. Let's begin. So today's daf is Chaf Aleph, beautiful daf ahead of us today. We're picking up a little bit of ground to make up. We're picking up on Chaf Amud Beis 20b. 20b, Ulatana Kama. So it is literally 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 15 lines up from the bottom. So remember again, we saw in Machlokes in B'Shimon Gamliel and the Tanakama regarding if one goes ahead and makes a neder not to go ahead and eat meat. So what does that neder cover? Well, the Tanakama, according to Tanakama, why is it that if a person makes a neder not to eat basar, that includes fowl, that includes basar ofos, it includes chicken as well, to which the Gemara says, Mishum deragil inish ta'amar lo ashkechi bisra dichiyusa va'asai bisra detzifra. Because the person will sometimes say, you know what, I can't find any kind of regular meat, so therefore I'll eat chicken. Ihachi nami avid inish l'memar lo ashkechi bisra dichiyusa va'asai dagim. But I don't understand, don't people sometimes also say, look, I was unable to go ahead and find meat, so I'll eat fish. It's craziness who would say such a thing like this, right? But the idea that Gemara is saying over here is if you're talking about what people substitute, so if a person doesn't find meat, maybe they'd substitute fish as well. To which Rapapa says, what are we talking about? The day on which you did bloodletting. So we'll say, so remember again, Chazal had this whole, which again was not their own Masorah. This reflected whatever was the commonly held beliefs at the time, that after you engaged in bloodletting, there were certain foods that were considered to be harmful. So b'yamakaz askinon telo ichol inish dogim. Because again, if it was on their blood, people would not eat fish after bloodletting. Says the Gemara, ihachi tzifra nami lo nechal. If that's the case, you wouldn't eat fowl either. The Amar Shmuel, the muskar va'achol tzifra. If a person does bloodletting and then eats birds, fowl, parach libe kitzifra, his heart will flutter like a bird. So apparently, again, not only is eating fish detrimental after bloodletting, but apparently eating fowl is also detrimental after bloodletting. Va'otanya, ein makizin dam, lo ala dagim, v'lo ala ofos, v'lo ala basar maliach. Furthermore, again, the Brisa says that if you, this is another very interesting idea, which is that Chazal said if you're going to engage in bloodletting, make sure you have the necessary foods ready for immediately after bloodletting. Which I will say, if you think about it, therefore the Gemara says, if you only have to eat, meaning don't do bloodletting, if all you have to eat are dagim, ofos, and basar maliach, if all you have in the house is fish, fowl, and salted meat, don't do bloodletting, because none of those foods ultimately again are healthy to eat after bloodletting. We'll say just an incredible musar if you think about it. What is the Gemara saying? Every action has repercussions. Every action has ramifications. So plan ahead for the repercussions and ramifications of your actions. And if you don't plan ahead and then you're stuck, you have no one to blame but yourself. You're going to do bloodletting? Fine, great. Hatzlacha. Make sure you're prepared for the aftermath of that bloodletting as well and know how to properly follow it up. So which the Gemara says, Ella, Amra Papa, Biyoma de Kevan Le'inaya Askinon. Rather, Papa says, what do we talk? What's the case over here? It's a case where a person has some type of eye ailment. And therefore, again, the lo achal dogim. And therefore, we'll say in a case like that, if a person was making a neder not to eat meat, so ultimately, again, the way we interpret that neder is that halacha l'maisa meat doesn't just mean meat, but it means anything substituted for meat. What's normally substituted for meat? So although in a normal circumstance you might say, of course fowl is normally substituted for meat, maybe fish is also, but because in this particular context the guy has a particular ailment which would preclude him from eating fish, therefore his neder does not devolve upon fish. Good. Amar lo tein lo chaticha. So remember again, going to the last case in the Mishnah. Last three lines on Chaf Amud Beis. So if you remember again, in the last few lines in the Mishnah, so the Mishnah said, if I tell my shaliach, go ahead and give the archim a piece of meat. And what happens? And it turns out that halacha l'maisa, so the piece of the meat that the shaliach ends up giving the archim is hegdish. So now we have a problem. What's the problem? So what's the case? The shaliach ended up, the archim ended up eating 3 pieces of meat, right? one piece of meat that I, the Mishaliach, gave them. The Shaliach then decided to add on his own piece of meat. The Archim Baruch Hashem had a healthy appetite, and they took a third piece of meat. So what did the Mishnah say? In that case, all of them have committed Meilah. To which the Gemara says, Shma Mina, Mosif al Shlichuso Habishtech. So what do you learn from here? You learn from here that when a Shliach adds on to the scope of his agency, he is still considered to be an agent of the principle. See, Rabbi say, the Amar of Sheish is the Amar Shaliach Tal Achas Midaito, Va'achas Midaiti. Because what's happening in this case? The Shaliach says to the Archim, take one piece, the piece number one, that's on the Balabas. Piece number two, that's on me. Piece number three, they just chapped on their own. Top of Chaf Aleph, Ma'udetema, because what would I have thought? Akar Shaliach Shlichusei de Balabais V'lo Limo. See, I will say, I might have thought that halacha l'maisa, anytime a shaliach changes the scope of the agency in any way, what effectively happens? He negates the agency. And therefore halacha l'maisa, he's acting on his own volition, and therefore the balabayis should not have committed Meilah at all. Kamashal that is not the case. So we'll say this is actually quite fascinating, because what the Gemara here is teaching me is a dramatic concept, which is that halacha l'maisa, if a shaliach fundamentally does something different than he was charged to do, then the shlichus is batal, and the shaliach is not considered to be acting on the behalf of the mishaliach, of the principle. However, if the shaliach adds on to that which the principle asked him to do, he is still considered to be acting in the agency, as the agent of the Mishaliach, and therefore the Shlichus man. So says, here's a perfect case. The Mishaliach, I told my Shaliach, give the guests a piece of meat. What ended up happening? The Shaliach gave them 2 pieces of meat. So I'm at the Havamina is, I told you 1, you gave them 2, you're not my Shaliach, you're rogue. Right? You've gone rogue, you're acting on your own. Kamash will know that vis-a-vis the first piece of meat, he is my Shaliach, vis-a-vis the second piece of meat, he's acting on his own. Therefore, for the first piece of meat, which turned out to be Kodesh, I, the Mishaleach, am Chayiv for Meilah. Regarding the second piece of meat, which was of the Shaliach's own volition, in that case, he has committed Meilah. Pretty incredible. Amrlo, we'll say, continuing in these cases of Shlichus. Amrlo, I say to my Shaliach, Havei li min achalon o min adeluskima. So we'll say, I tell my Shaliach, do me a favor, bring me the money. We'll say in this context, Tosfos points out chalon doesn't mean a window, but rather it means like a shelf, Bring me my money from the chalon, or deluskima. Deluskima is a bag or a sack. So we'll say, what happened? Vehevi lo, and the shaliach brings it to me. We'll say, now it turns out I was referring to money on a different shelf, or money in a different bag, which was chulin. It turns out that he brings me hekdish money, and of course I end up using it. So what's the halacha? Even though I say, listen, I had in mind for a different shelf, or I had in mind for a different bag. You brought me the one that I did not have in mind. So what's the halacha? Balabayis mo. Rabbi say, nevertheless, the balabayis still committed Meilah. Right? Why, Rabbi say? Because failure to be item specific results ultimately again in liability for the balabayis. If you're not specific, if you just say a window or you just say a bag and you're not specific, you will be chayiv for Meilah. We'll say another, so much musar in today's daf, it's incredible. Another incredible musar, we'll say what you mean. And if you don't say what you mean and you live life in the realm of ambiguity, that's your problem. Right? You can't blame someone else for your own ambiguity. However, avalim amar lo, havei min achalon, vehevi lo min adluskima, o min adluskima vehevi lo min achalon, hashliach mal. Rabbi say, of course, if I tell my shliach, bring me the money that's sitting on the shelf, and he brings me the money that's in the bag, or vice versa, in that case, again, where the shliach has deviated from the terms of the shlichus, in that case, of course, the shliach will be chayiv Meilah and not me. Shalach biad chiri shotav was another interesting case. What happens if I send money, right? In this case over here, I send money to a shopkeeper to go out and purchase something, or to someone to do some kind of work, and I send the money in the hands of a chirish, a shota, and a katan. So what's the halacha, Rabbi say? Im asu shlichuso, If ultimately, again, the Chiri Shot of a Katan do their shlichus, they execute their agency, then Balabayis Ma'al. Then ultimately, again, the Balabayis has committed Meilah. Remember, we established this already in last week's staff, that Halacha L'maisa, the concept of Shlucho Shel Adam Kimoso, applies to Meilah. So in this case, if the Shaliach does exactly what I asked them to do, I, the Balabayis, have committed Meilah. On the other hand, Lo Asu Shlichuso, if at the end of the day the Cheri Shot of a Katan did not execute their shlichus, they acted on their own. So remember, under normal circumstances, if the shaliach acts on his own, so who's chayiv for Meilah? The shaliach. In this case over here, what's the problem? The shaliach is a person who lacks capacity, right? It says the Cheri Shot of a Katan lacks capacity. So we'll say it's incredible. Who will be chayiv? Chen v'nimal. We'll say in this case over here, it's the shopkeeper. Now remember, of course, this is inadvertent. This is all inadvertent. Meilah is always inadvertent. Right? It's both very important. There's no such thing as Meilah b'mezi. Right? Meilah is always b'shogeg. So remember, but in this case, it turns out that it's the chenveni. Right? It is the shopkeeper, ultimately, again, who inadvertently committed Meilah. Next, Shalach bi'at pikeach v'nisker. We'll say is another incredible case. Shalach bi'at pikeach. So what happens over here? I send money in the hands of a regular person, quote unquote, right? The pikeach, a person with capacity. And what happens? The niskar at shalavigia itzel chanvini. This is incredible. So as I say, I send money with the shaliach to go purchase something from the shopkeeper. After I dispatch the shaliach, I realized that what? Oh my gosh, the money was kodesh. The money was kodesh. So we'll say, see, it's incredible, right? We live, see, for us, what's the shayla? Call him, text him, WhatsApp him, email him, Facebook him. And by the way, in that order, right? Because that's how we get in touch with people today. Right? So go ahead. So we'll say, but understand, of course. So it's just a new. What happened? The shliach already left. He already left. So what do I do? So the Gemara says incredible. So ad shelo yetza chenveni mal. So we'll say if at the end of the day, the chenveni gets the money, it's the chenveni who committed Meilah. So the Gemara says the chashiyotze. So case yasa. So what should I do in such a case like this? So we'll say, is there a way for me to save the party? So remember, so again, the shaliach didn't commit Meilah. Why doesn't the shaliach commit Meilah in this case? Why not? Because he's doing what I asked him to do. Remember again, shlucho shel adam kimoso. The shliach is an extension of me. See, he can't be chayiv. The chenveni will be the one who is chayiv as soon as he uses the money. So what can I do? This is incredible. Notel pruta, okli, v'omer pruta zusha, v'omer pruta shal hektish b'chol makom shehu mechulol al zeh. Shahektish nifta bekesef ubeshav kesef. So as I say, interestingly enough, there is a mechanism. What's the mechanism? Redeem the kodesh item. So as I say, so remember, essentially what you could say is, okay, the money I sent $100 worth of kodesh funds with the shaliach accidentally. So what am I going to do? I have a kli that's worth $100, or here's another $100, and I'm going to transfer the sanctity of that kodesh money onto this item or onto this money. And you have the ability to do that even though the kodesh item ultimately again is not in front of me at the time. Pretty incredible. Says the Gemara, my kamashna. So we'll say in case number one, what's the chiddush? Remember, case number one was I say to the shaliach, bring me the money from the shelf, or bring me the money from the bag, and shliach does it. But then I say, no. I had in mind for a different shelf, a different bag. The money you brought me was kodesh. I had in mind for chulin money. So the Mishnah says, that's nice, but you've still committed Meilah. Why, says the Gemara? Why my kamashmalan? Dvarim shebalev einam dvarim. What's an incredible yisod? Dvarim shebalev einam dvarim. That which you think in your heart is inconsequential. We'll say, that there is one exception to this rule, which is Yom Kippur. Right? Yom Kippur was when it comes to tshuva. Right? Dvarim shebalev have dvarim. It's the one exception in all of Yiddishkeit. Right? Under normal circumstances, you are looked at and you are judged based on what you do, not based on what you think, which makes sense. The world can't operate based on people's cognitive realities. It has to operate based on people's actions. Except when it comes to the realm of tshuva. When it comes to the realm of tshuva, although again, you have to change your behaviors as well, but changing your cognition, changing your thoughts, changing your leiv is incredibly consequential and meaningful as well. Shalach bi'ad cheri shot of a cotton im asu. Supposed to remember again, if you send kodesh money in the hands of the Cheri Shot of the cotton, and they do what they were asked to do. So remember again, in this case, what did the Mishnah say? Shalach b'Cheri Shot of the cotton. Ultimately, again, the Balabayis committed Meilah. To which the Gemara says, I don't understand. How could that be? V'hai lav b'nei shlichusaninu. But one second. Let's say, so the Mishnah says something amazing. If I send, so let's play this out. I send Kodesh money together with the Cheri Shot of the cotton to go ahead and perform task A. They do it. So therefore the Mishnah says, I, the Balabayis, have committed Meilah, because the Cheri Shot of the cotton, they are my shluchim, right? They're my shaliach, shluch moso. But they're not b'nei shlichus, says the Gemara. They don't have the capacity, ultimately, again, to go ahead and be a shaliach. So if that's the case, we'll say if they don't have the capacity to be a shaliach, so why are their actions connected back to me? Rabbi Lazar, asom kimitan shel zeisim. Rabbi Lazar says, because the truth is, we make the Cheri Shot of the cotton like a vat of olives. What does that mean? This nan, hazeisim me'emasam mekablan tuma. When do olives in a vat, when are they mekabel tuma? Misheyaziu, when they begin to sweat. So when the olives begin to sweat, moisture comes out, that makes them even more ripe to be pressed, and the Balabayis likes it when they sweat. Zeas hama'atan v'lo zeas hakupa. That's referring to sweat that's generated when they're in the vat, not the sweat of the basket. And therefore I will say, what the Gemara is saying is like this, just like the Balabayis didn't do anything to the olives, yet he's happy with the process that occurred to the olives, and therefore the olives are makabel tuma. Even though, again, the Cheri Shot of the cotton ultimately, again, lack capacity to be a shaliach, but because the Balabayis is happy with what they did, therefore, again, it becomes like a shlichus. To which the Gemara says, Rabbi Yochanan Amar, Ke'osa sheshaninu. This is similar to what we learned before by actually Erev Tchumin, Nasnu al gabe kof, v'holicho, or al gabe gamal, or al gabe hapil v'holicho. So we'll say, if you put your Erev Tchumin on top of the head of a monkey, or you put your Erev Tchumin on a camel, and the animal takes your Erev Tchumin out, bless you, out to the outskirts where you want it, even though, again, the monkey can't be your shaliach, the camel can't be your shaliach, you are happy with the process, and so there is a quasi-shlichus reality which is created. Harei ze'eruv. Alma ka'avde shlichusa. So therefore, I'm going to say, you see that even when something can't occur within the normative context of shlichus, halacha l'mayis, if the balabas is happy with it, then it takes on a quasi form of shlichus. Hachanami is avid shlichusei. So to over here, even though you're right, the Cheri Shot of the cotton are incapable of serving in an official capacity of shlichus, since the balabayis is happy with the actions as they executed it, ultimately again it becomes a quasi form of shlichus. Weiter, shalach bi'at pikeach. So let's remember again, the last case in the Mishnah was I go ahead and I send the money in the hands of a pikeach, and then what happens? I realize that it's kodesh money. So what do? Halacha l'maisa, I redeem the kodesh money onto something else. Says the Gemara, va'af agav delo itkar shliach. So the Gemara says, is this true? That ultimately, again, even if so remember, if I remember, and at the end of the day, if at the end of the day I didn't redeem it, so halacha l'maisa, it's the chenveni who commits Meilah. So we'll say, if I'm able to remember, then I can redeem it. To which the Gemara says, Raminu. Now you're telling me that this is true, even if the shliach didn't remember. So we'll say, so now what we're saying over here is, if the balabais remembered, but the shliach doesn't remember, that it's still the chenveni who commits Meilah and not the shaliach, or mini. I have a kasha. Niskar balabais v'lo niskar shaliach. Yet we'll say, the Brisa says that what? If the balabais remembered that the funds were kodesh, but the shaliach was unaware, hashliach ma'al. Ultimately, we'll say in that case, it's the shaliach who commits Meilah, not the chenveni. Niskaru shnehem. If both the balabayis as well as the shaliach remember, then what? Chenveni ma'al. Ultimately, again, it is the chenveni who commits Meilah. But Rav Sheshes, which Rav Sheshes says, you're right. Masnisin nami kishenis gerushnehem. Rav Sheshes says, what's the case of the Mishnah? The case of the Mishnah is where the Balabayis remembers, the Shaliach remembers, Nebuch, the money is in the hands of the Chenveni. So if the Balabayis is able to redeem the money quickly before the Chenveni does anything with it, then in Achinami he can remove any Me'ilah situation. But if for some reason he doesn't have the chance to do so, then Halacha L'mais, it'll be the Chenveni who commits Me'ilah. Because once remember again, once you remember that the money is Kodesh before it was actually used, you're out of the parsha of Meilah. Meilah is only when you go ahead and you use consecrated an item b'shogeg. If you're not shogeg anymore, then it's no longer Meilah. Incredible. Says the Mishnah, Nasan lo pruta. That's an interesting case. I give my shaliach a pruta. And what do I say to him? Amar lo, haveli b'chatzi neiros echatzi psilos. Go ahead and use half the pruta to purchase me candles and half the pruta to purchase me wicks. Halach vehevi lo b'kula psilos. Mashliach, he disobeys the terms of the agency, and he uses the entire pruta to purchase wicks. O b'kula neros, or ultimately the entire amount to purchase neros. O sha'amar, or I said to him, O sha'amar lo, havela b'kula neros, use the entire pruta to purchase candles. O b'kula psilos, or the entire pruta to purchase wicks. V'halach vehevi b'chatzi neros b'chatzi psilos, and he uses half of the pruta to go ahead and purchase candles and half of the pruta to purchase wicks. Both say, what's ta'alocha? Shnehem lo ma'alu. Both say, what is this a case of? This is a case of Meilah with pachos mishave pruta. See, both say in all of these cases, the misappropriation ultimately again was with less than a pruta. Because ultimately again, remember, there's no Meilah with less than a pruta, and therefore halacha l'mais in these cases there is no me'ilah that's been committed. Avalim amar lo, but if I say to my shaliach, havili bechatzia neiros b'makom ploni, or bechatzia psilos b'makom ploni, but if I say to my shaliach, do me a favor, bring me half a pruta of candles from one place, half a pruta of psilos from another place, and what happened? V'halach vehevi lo neiros b'makom psilos upsilos b'makom neiros hashliach mal. But I will say, in this case over here, where what? I tell my shaliach, bring me a half a pruta of neros, half a pruta of psilos. And I have a geographic hakpada. I want you to bring the candles from here and the psilos from here. And he complies with the terms, but just not with the geography. So in this case, he's not my shaliach because he's not going in and complying with the terms. But the entire pruta has been spent in a normative way, and therefore halacha l'maisa the shliach has committed me'ilah. Nasan lo shtei prutos. We'll say, what happens if I give my shaliach 2 prutos? V'amar lo lech v'haveli esrog. Interesting case. Right, so I give him 2 prutos, and I tell him, bring me an esrog. V'halach v'havela ba'achas esrog u ba'achas rimon. And then what does the shliach do? He goes in and he uses 1 pruta to purchase an esrog and 1 pruta to purchase a pomegranate. What's the halacha? Shnehem ma'alu. Ultimately, again, both the balabayis as well as the shaliach have committed me'ilah. We will say, what's the logic here? The balabayis has committed me'ilah. Why? So he told the shaliach to go buy an esrog, and the shaliach did buy an esrog, and the shaliach has committed me'ilah. Why? Because the purchase of the rimon was done of his own volition, and therefore he'll be chayiv for that. Rabbi Yehuda says, balabayis lo mal. Rabbi Yehuda says that the balabayis has not committed me'ilah. Why? Shehu omer lo esrog gadol hayisi mevakesh. Because the balabayis could say, listen, I told you to spend 2 prutos on an esrog. Which, why? Because I wanted a nice zaftig esrog, right? I wanted something nice, big, and beautiful. And what did you bring me? You brought me a little puny esrog. V'havei katan v'ra. Therefore, Rabbi Yehuda holds that halacha l'maisa, it is only the shaliach who has committed me'ilah, not the balabayis. Nasan lo dinar zav. Similarly, if I give my shaliach a gold dinar, v'amar lo leich havei li chaluk, and I tell him, go buy me a shirt, amad days. V'halach v'hevi lo bishlosha chaluk u bishlosha talis. And then what happens, Rabbi say? He takes the dinar and he spends 3 sloim, which is half a dinar, right? A dinar is 6 sloim. He spends half the dinar on the shirt and half the dinar on a cloak. So I send him with 1 gold dinar to get me a shirt. He comes back and he spent half the dinar on a shirt, half the dinar on a talis. What's the halacha? Shnehem ma'alu. We both have committed me'ilah. We both have committed Meilah, right? I've committed Meilah by the Balabayis because the Shaliach complied with the terms of my agency and bought me a shirt, and the Shaliach has committed Meilah. Why? Because he bought the talis. Rabbi Yehuda Omer Balabayis Lama. Rabbi Yehuda says no, the Balabayis did not commit Meilah. Why not? Shu Omer Lo Chaluk Gadol Hayisi Mevakesh Vehevesi Li Katan Vera. Because ultimately, again, a Balabayis can say, listen, I asked you, I wanted a nice shirt, right? A nice shirt. And then what happens? And then I wanted a Hatbox shirt. Moshe Hefter listens, so I like to give him product placement. Right? So what happens? So I wanted a nice shirt, and you got me not such a nice shirt. It's nice that you brought me back to talis. I didn't ask you for the talis. Rabbi Yehuda says at the end of the day, we'll say the chiddush over here is that what? The chiddush over here is that when the mishaleach, when the principal asks the agent to go ahead and bring something back, and he gives him a certain dollar amount. So what he's saying is not just that I want the object, I want an object worth this amount. So therefore, when the Shaliach goes ahead and brings something back worth less, Rabbi Yehuda says, that's not what I asked you to do. I didn't ask for a 3-selah shirt and a 3-selah talis. I asked for a 6-selah, 1 dinar talis. I didn't ask for a 1 pruta esrog and a 1 pruta rimon. I asked for a 2 pruta esrog. And therefore, Rabbi Yehuda's position is that halacha l'maisa, in these cases where the shaliach deviates, it is the shliach who has committed Meilah, not the balabayis. Says the Gemara, shamis mina. So we see from here, man da amar l'shlucho, ziel zabin likura da'ara, va'ava va'azal v'zabin le'liska, kani lokeach. So I'll say, so what do you see from here? You see from here that if I tell my shaliach to go out and buy me a kur of land. The kur is a measurement, right? Go out and buy me a kur of land. Go out and buy me an acre of land. And the shaliach goes ahead and purchases half an acre. That halacha l'maisa, the transaction is binding. Take a look at Rashi for just a moment. Shamas mina sagda man da'amar l'shluchei zabin, Rashi says, Kilomar, Shamis mimasnisin diktani, vehevi lo chaluk b'shlosha, shnehem ma'alu, va'afilu balabayis, afa pi shetzivo lahavi lo b'dinar zav, dezabin lo pachos mimasha amar lo, Shamis mina, hai man damar lechavre, v'tivshot mihacha, dekana lokeach, afa pi shekana lo pachos. Well, so the is like this. According to Tanakama, what becomes clear is as follows. If halacha l'maisa, I go ahead and what's happening in the Mishnah? I told my shaliach to purchase an item worth X. He went out, he purchased an item, but it's X minus Y. So halacha l'maisa, you see from the Mishnah that what? The shlichos is considered to have been fulfilled. So you see something very fascinating. When you ask a shaliach to do something, and he does half of the job, the half that he did still is an effective shlichos. So if I tell my shaliach to go out and purchase for me an acre of land, and he ends up purchasing half an acre of land, then apparently what he did is effective. To which the Gemara says, 1 second, let's analyze this. Amri, hacha, hechi dami. What's the case here? What's the case in the Mishnah? Kigon da'aisile shave sheish b'shalosh. So we'll say, so we were assuming that what's the case in the Mishnah? The case in the Mishnah is, I asked my shaliach to purchase me a shirt for 6 slime, and what happens? He is an excellent bargain shopper, so he got me the 6-selah shirt, but what? He got it for me for 3. So in other words, the item that I wanted, I just got it, Baruch Hashem, for what? For less money. To which the Gemara says, well, if that's the case, let's analyze this. Ema Seifa, actually changes that. The back changes. Ihachi Ema Seifa, Rabbi Huda Omer Balabayis Lo Ma'ol. Right? Rabbi Huda says that the Balabayis did not commit Meilah. Now, why would Rabbi Huda say the Balabayis has not committed Meilah in this case? Shu Yachal Omer Lo, Chaluk Gadol Hayisi Mevakesh, Vehevesi Li Chaluk Vera. So Rabbi says, here's the problem. What does Rabbi Huda say in the Mishnah? Rabbi Huda says that the Mishaleach could tell the Shaliach, this is not what I asked you for, right? I wanted a nice shirt. You brought me a puny shirt, but I don't understand. That's not the case. You just told me that the case was what? I told the shaliach to get me a 6 dinar shirt or a 6-selah shirt, and what happened? He got, and here's 6 slime, here's a dinar, and then what happens? The shaliach did what? he got me the shirt. He got me the shirt that I wanted, but he got it for half the amount of money. So why would Rabbi? So remember again, Rabbi Yehuda's lashon in the Mishnah is that the Mishaleach says to the Shaliach, I wanted chalak gadol, and you brought me chalak katan v'ra. So what's the problem, Rabbi Yehuda? If you got the shirt that you wanted, but you got it for less money, everyone's happy. To which the Gemara says, da amarlei, because the Mishaleach could say to the Shaliach, no. Iyahavis dinar kule, isis li shava beis dinarim. Because the Balabas says like this, had you spent the money, see the assumption is, if you can get a 1 dinar shirt for half a dinar, then if you spend the full dinar, what do you get? A 2 dinar shirt. So I would have rather, meaning I gave you the money, I wanted you to spend the money, so I would have rather you spent the full amount, the full dinar, and get me a 2 dinar shirt, than to go ahead and spend half a dinar and get me a 1 dinar shirt. Rabbi say, simply put, do what you're told, right? Do not go ahead and start making your own cheshbonos when you are acting as a shaliach, but rather again, the Mishaleach says, I told you to spend a dinar on the shirt, spend a dinar on the shirt. That's it. Hachanai mistabra. This would appear to be clear. Diktani seifa. Mod Rabbi Yehuda bekitnis sheshnei amalu. Both is interesting that Rabbi Yehuda would agree in a case of kitnis, in a case where I dispatched my shaliach to go ahead and purchase legumes that halacha l'maisa, both of them committed Meilah. Why? Shakitnis bepruta, the kitnis bedinar. Because we'll say when purchasing kitnis, we'll say there are some items where sometimes the more you spend, the more you get. And there are some items where volume doesn't make any level of difference. So apparently when it comes to the purchase of kitnis, you're going to get the same volume of kitnis for a pruta, proportionally as you would get ultimately again for a dinar. To which the Gemara says, hey chidami, what's the case? Iba asra de zabni b'shuma gabi kitnis nami diyav sela mozi leitvei. So if it's supposed to say, it's not necessarily true. If it's a place where they sell with valuation, so we'll say b'shuma means that when selling merchandise, lav dafka, that they're exact. They're exact. So therefore, again, in a place where they sell with shum, with valuation, there's no question that the more you purchase, the more you end up getting. They decrease the price. Amra papa, beduchta de mezabni bikini kini. Kana bepruta, the hasan pasek milsayu. So let's say if you take a look at Rashi, Rashi says over here, the kana bepruta, the hasan pasek milsayu, for lo yahavi le to, actually lamra papa, lo matis lemeimar hachi de ba'asra de kaili umezabni bekani askinon. The kana bepruta, the hasan pasek milsayu, for lo yahavi tosefta klal, hilchach lo matis lemeimar balabayis klum, eleki aisi le kitnis shava dinar begimel shnei hamal. So both say, so again, it's talking about a case where they sell in exact measurements, and where they sell in exact measurements, ultimately, again, both of them will have committed Meilah. So both say, so bottom line with this, which is actually quite fascinating, is that halacha l'maisa, what seems to be happening over here is as follows. The fundamental machlokus in Rabbi Yehuda and the Tanakama is in a situation where ultimately, again, the Shaliach gives the Mishaleach ultimately, again, a specific amount, and tells him to purchase an item. So the shaila is, do we assume that the hakpada is just on the item, or do we assume that the hakpada, right, that the insistence of the Mishaleach is on the item and the value? Tanakama says the hakpada is on the item. He gave him 2 prutas for an estrog, or 1 dinar for a shirt. We'll say that was a spending ceiling. That was a spending ceiling. You could spend up to this amount, but if you could spend less, of course I will be happy. Rabbi Yehuda is saying no. When the Mishaleach ultimately again gives an item and the spending amount, the hakpada is buy the item for this amount. If you go ahead and you end up getting it for less, that's not what I asked you to do. Because if you can get a bargain, I'd rather you get the bargain ultimately again on the item that spend the amount and get the bargain corresponding to the amount I wanted to spend. Don't get me, bless you, don't get me the 1 dinar shirt for half a dinar, spend the dinar and what? Get me a shirt for 2 dinar. That's fundamental machlokes Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbanon. The Rambam paskins like the Tanakama, like the Rabbanon, and therefore we'll say in these cases where I went ahead and I gave the Shaliach 2 prutas for an esrog, and he came back with an esrog and a rimon, the balabais have committed Meilah. I gave him 6 dinar for a shirt and 6 slam for a shirt, and he comes back with a shirt and the talis, the balabais have committed Meilah. Right? So we have to stop over here. Emir Hashem, tomorrow, during Yom Kippur, during the break, we will Amir Hashem finish up Maseches Meilah. Also, I just want to point out that halacha l'maisa, the way this works is Daf Chaf Beis Amud Beis. Daf Chaf Beis Amud Beis of this Masechta is Kinim. Is Kinim. Right? So we'll say, so that's just the way it's going to work. Kinim, Tamid. So we'll say these are smaller Masechtas that kind of are lopped on to the back of Meilah. So tomorrow you're going to see where actually Chaf Beis Amud Beis is the first daf of the next Masechta. So I don't know, this art school group, all right, so art school groups all done together. In most regular editions of the Gemara, you also have all of these smaller Masechtas together. So what a schus it is. Incredible. We're going to be Messiahim a Masechta and Mirz Hashem on Yom Kippur together. Ein zechus gedola mizo. So even if you're not davening here, it's supposed to be beautiful tomorrow. Weather's supposed to be great. If you want to walk in, the break is sometime between, I don't know when it is. Sometime in the afternoon, not exactly sure when.